so tired and there's like 2 hours left. I'm seeing double. Everything is just like a big blur. This weekend is Ludum Dare 45, which is a game jam where you have to make a game in 2 days based around a given theme. As usual with Ludum Dare, the theme was questionable. Start with nothing. That's literally every game I've ever played in the history of games. But even with such a broad theme, I'm gonna be struggling a lot to find an idea. And after an hour of not coming up with anything, so I'm just gonna go to sleep and hopefully get going with something tomorrow. With some good rest and a clear mind, I figured I would go for a roguelike game. I really enjoy games such as Enter the Gungeon, The Binding of Isaac, Spelunky, and so on, so let's open up Unity and get to work. The very first thing I did, which I always do when making a game, is I made a square. Sick. Then I created a script which will be used to generate our dungeon. This was probably my first mistake. I've never done any dungeon generation before, so I'm basically just taking shots in the dark, and after spending more time than I would have liked, I got a somewhat working result. Then I set up a good old Trello list to keep track of everything that I have to do. Once that was done, I worked more on the generation script to make more interesting shapes. And of course, I also generated corridors so you can actually move between the different rooms. Okay, so we're done with all of the boring room generation stuff, time to actually work on the player. I've already done a game about a square and a game about a circle, so of course, it's only natural that this one will be about a parallelogram. Yeah, you guessed it! Just kidding, it's actually about a triangle. So first I set up the basic movement, and after that I added a dash ability. So whenever you press space, you dash, and since you're meant to start with absolutely nothing, you can't start with a gun, so you have to dash into enemies in the beginning. Then I set up a quick camera script. It's a bit jittery, but I'll fix that later on. So here's what we got so far. If you think it looks absolutely terrible, then you are absolutely correct. So let's spice up the graphics a bit. I'm gonna use Unity's post-processing stack to add some bloom and other effects, which should make things look a bit better. Then I set up a very quick menu, and as you can see, all is working perfect. I said all is working perfectly. Everything is going according to plan so far, no issues whatsoever. Okay, so we have the basics down, now it's time to work on the actual gameplay. First off, I made a basic enemy. For now, he's just kind of following you around and looking at you, but we'll change that later. Then I put together an enemy kill effect with Unity's particle system, and here's what it all looks together when dashing through enemies. And finally, you can now take damage if you touch enemies without dashing. But now my friends are forcing me to join them in social activities and interactions, so I have to leave for a bit. Kids, don't get friends, it's bad for you and bad for your game jams. I just got back home, it's currently midnight, which means we only have 24 hours to go. That's not very good, since we have about 1 million things to do. So, as a wise man once said, hundreds of years ago, why sleep when you can work all night to finish your game jam in time? That wise man's name? Me. First off, I implemented shooting, so you can actually fire guns. I took some time implementing it because I wanted a good and reusable implementation. So, if I want to add a new gun, I can just go to my gun container class, add a new gun, and add the stats. Then I simply give the gun to the player through a script, and just like that, we now have a shotgun in the game. Before we go further, let's add some sound effects. I'm gonna use SFXR, which is a free sound effect generator. I also put together some super simple music in Fruity Loops, and here's what all of the audio sounds like so far. After this, I implemented a timer. The idea is, the further the timer goes, the harder the difficulty. Kind of like Risk of Rain 2, which is a super fun game. As you probably noticed by now, I'm no artist, to say the least, so I'll stick to some very simple pixel art. First, I drew a heart icon to represent the player's lives, and then a coin icon for the enemies to drop. And here you can see the new UI in-game. Currently there is no way to collect gold, so it just kinda says 0, but I swear it works. Kind of. Probably. Most likely. I don't know. I spent a few more hours on fine-tuning everything, so once you enter a room, it will now close behind you, and you have to defeat all of the enemies before leaving the room. They also have a spawn animation now, so you can actually see where they're coming from, and they will drop coins once you explode them. But I think that's gonna be it for me for today. It's currently 7 AM in the morning, and I really need to get some sleep. I have so many things to do tomorrow, so I probably won't have time to get much sleep, but hey, as I already said, sleep is for the weak, so yeah. But time to hit the sack. See you in a few hours. So it's 12 in the noon and I slept for about 4 hours. Yeah, I'm getting pretty tired. We only have 12 hours and there's so much to do. We currently have a very unfinished game and only 12 hours to go, so let's just jump right into it. I started by making sprites for the different guns. These will eventually be dropped from chests that you can open for gold. After finishing the art, I coded in the guns and an inventory, and here is the result. You can now pick up guns and switch between your two weapons. Then I made a chest in Photoshop and put it into the game, and after also coding that in, here is the result. It will now drop a random gun where obviously the better guns are more rare to get. Then I made two more types of chests, one red and one blue. The red one will give a rare weapon and the blue ones will give upgrades. So obviously we need to work on making some upgrades since currently there aren't any in the game. And since we're running kind of low on time, let's only implement a few selected core upgrades. I decided on making a soda, which gives you higher attack speed, totally not a stolen logo by the way, a pair of sneakers which will give you faster movement speed, and a helmet that will increase your dash ability. The thought behind the helmet is that since you dash into enemies with your head first, if you wear a helmet it works better. But it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense since you're a triangle, but I was very tired when making this, so don't judge me, okay? Anyway, here you can see the upgrades in action. They're really fun to play around with and give you some pretty crazy abilities. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's a little over 6 PM, which means we have a little less than 6 hours left. What I want to do now is I want to make sure enemies spawn, I want to make sure you can move to the next floor, and just make sure you can actually play the game properly, because currently you can't even restart when you die. So we still have a couple of things we need to do. Then I added 4 new enemies, which will only spawn once you get further into the game. I also added some crates, which you can break by dashing, and you usually only get 1 coin from the crates, but if you get lucky, there's a chance you can get some really rare weapons. And we're down to 1.5 hours left, and here you can see the most crucial things I need to get into the game before the time limit. As you can probably tell, that's not going to happen, but the most important one I have to get done within the time is the minimap, or the game is just gonna be straight up bad. A dungeon game without a minimap is like a glass without milk. It's just not right, so we have to do this and we have to do it now or we're fucked. There is one huge issue though. I haven't made a minimap before, I have no idea how to do it, and we only have 1.5 hours, so I only see one option out of this. Forgive me, Sensei, but I must go all out. Just this once. And just like that, with only 6 minutes left, I managed to somehow finish the minimap. So yeah, I tried a couple of different solutions, but I really couldn't get it working how I wanted to, so here's what it looks like. Even though it doesn't show the corridors and it shows all the rooms without you actually discovering them, it still gets the job done and makes the game so much better to play than without a minimap. So even if it's kind of bad, I'm really happy I got it done in time. Now we have 1 hour to build the project, upload all of the files and submit to Ludum Dare. You can download the game with the link in the description down below and try to get to floor 10, but I heard only elite gamers can pull that off, so good luck. Also, the source code is available on my GitHub, which you can find in the description down below, but be warned, Game Jam source code is not very pretty, so if you're a programmer with any kind of respect for yourself, please don't look at my source code. So yeah, this was definitely a rough game jam as I bit over a bit more than I could chew, but luckily I was able to finish everything in time, or at least most of it. The biggest problem is that I didn't have time to play test the game, so it's just kind of luck that it works alright and is sort of fun to play. Next time I will definitely not try to make such a big project with so limited time, especially when I have no idea how to implement any of it. But either way, it was a fun experience and I learned a lot of things. Thanks for watching my video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to smash like and subscribe, and if you didn't, make sure to smash dislike. As always, massive thanks to all of my supporters on Patreon, you're all amazing. That's gonna be it for me though, see you in the next one. And of course, hit your sack, slip your slap, drink your milk, and I got nothing.